that we've gone this far, could we someday find a way to beat Twilight Princess in fewer than 6 transforms? Time will tell, but it is unlikely to happen without a major sequence break in the game. At the moment, saving 2 more transforms would require finding a way to skip Death Sword without transforming and without Jump Strike, or finding a way to get Jump Strike without adding to the transformation total. Such a thing might be possible, but it seems unlikely at the moment that such a discovery will happen. Welp, it happened. The story of low transforms, Twilight Princess's most difficult category, has evolved once again, increasing the challenge and nearly doubling the length of the run. In the last month, a way was found to improve the run from 6 transforms to only 4. In theory, low transforms is a simple concept. Beat the game as fast as possible while also transforming between Link's wolf and human forms as few times as possible. For the purposes of this category, a transform is defined as entering a cutscene in one form and leaving in the other. We have 2 ways to reduce the number of transforms. First, we can find a strat that removes the need to transform entirely by achieving the same result as a human. One example of this is the Midna Fog delays, which allow us to get through Palace of Twilight without transforming, despite the Black Fog constantly trying to transform us. The other way is in routing. If we can transform into a wolf in one place and carry it through multiple steps that require us to be wolf, we remove the human section between them. One example of this is warping the City in the Sky Cannon before the Midna's Desperate Hour section instead of after Arbiter's Grounds. By doing this, we can stay as a wolf after warping the cannon until we finish Midna's Desperate Hour, where we would otherwise have needed to be a human between them. Before the most recent developments, the run had 6 transforms left. First, we transformed inside the castle sewers and carried that transform through the Faron and Elden Twilights. Then we transformed to human to get through Goron Mines and most of Lakebed Temple. Then transformed again to get through Lanayru Twilight, transforming back to finish Lakebed Temple. Finally, we transformed when warping the City in the Sky Cannon, then transformed back after completing Midna's Desperate Hour and climbing to Snow Peak. Now, we need to be wolf to go through Lanayru Twilight, and we need to be a human to beat Lakebed Temple, and then we need to be a wolf through Midna's Desperate Hour. It would be impossible to combine those sections simply due to the requirements of each. However, we knew that if we could find a way to complete all of the Twilights in one wolf section, it would be possible to combine those sections, reducing the transform count from 6 to 4. The problem? This ladder. This ladder in Lanayru Twilight has to be climbed in order to howl at the Howling Stone here. We needed this Howling Stone as the only known way to skip the Death Sword fight as human required the 6th hidden skill, Jump Strike. Without a different way to skip the fight entirely as human, we were stuck having to reach Lanayru Twilight, climbing up the ladder, and transforming to Howl. Finding a different way to skip the Death Sword fight as human seemed impossible. We had tried everything we could think of and nothing else had worked. We were able to get over many hurdles, but this one was proving too difficult. Enter a new runner named Spicy Juice. When researching a different category, low XY presses, Spicy Juice found this. That's right, Backslice Moonboot's Damage Boost Death Sword Skip, or Basumdabuds for short. Spicy Juice had found a way to skip Death Sword requiring only 3 hidden skills, meaning that we didn't need to howl at the Lake Hylia Howling Stone, and more importantly, not climb the ladder. There it was. What seemed impossible now was possible. Despite the fact that Basumdabuds was incredibly precise and required the magic armor, a new hope dawned for low transforms. Maybe, just maybe, we would be able to route it to only need 4 transforms. However, though the seemingly most difficult challenge was out of the way, there were still some hurdles to cross. To save the transforms, we need to complete all 3 of the Twilights in one wolf section. Doing so requires us to get from Twilight to Twilight only as wolf, which is no simple task. Midna prevents us from leaving Faron Twilight to go to Lanayru Twilight, and there's no way to leave Kakariko during Elden Twilight due to a missing bridge over the gorge and a giant invisible wall on the other end. Plus, without the Master Sword, we couldn't warp from one to the other, and getting the Master Sword before the Twilights was something we didn't have a way to do. So there were still 2 pieces of the puzzle to solve. First, we needed a way to get the Master Sword before saving Talo. Second, we needed a way to get between the Twilights only as wolf. The first piece, getting the Master Sword, had 2 possible solutions. Either we could find a new way to get to the Grove, or we could find a way to get into the Forest Temple before starting the Twilights. Unfortunately, there are some big rocks in front of the Forest Temple, and the rocks don't have a floor beneath them, so even a rupee slide couldn't get past them. Or could it? Spicy Juice wasn't done looking for things for low X and Y presses, and figured out that to the side of the Forest Temple entrance, there is a narrow ledge that we can stand on, and if we could get on that ledge, we could jump from there into the Forest Temple. A rupee slide doesn't have any problems getting through that wall, so it was soon shown that, indeed, we can use a rupee slide to get into the forest temple before saving Talo. So in the forest temple we can get the boomerang, and then we can use the boomerang to get to the grove. Now in the grove we can't howl at the stone to open the door, so we need to do another rupee slide to get through. This slide used to be done in low percent, so we already knew a bit about it. Finally, after 8 hours of rupee slides, we can get the Master Sword before saving Talo. Okay, so that's one piece of the puzzle. What about the other piece? We needed to find a way to travel from one Twilight to the others, and most specifically, a way into Lanayru from Farron or Eldon. Having the Master Sword makes it so that we can stay as a wolf when we finish the Twilights, so we could finish both of the Twilights before making our way to Lanayru. It wasn't long before we found that it's possible to use Map Glitch to jump from East Hyrule Field to the Lanayru Twilight entrance, similar to how the TPHD speedrun skips Goron Mines. We could only get to East Hyrule Field after completing Eldon Twilight, as during the Twilight there is an invisible wall blocking us, so we beat the Twilight, leave Kakariko, and... oh, the postman. The postman has a new letter when Eldon Twilight is completed, so we can't stop him from being there. The last puzzle piece to get the run to 4 transforms, ruined by the postman. Well, not for long. The person that came up with the original route for low transforms, Chris is Awesome, looked into it, and found that there were some strange triggers in the area. We knew about one of these. If we claw shot up to these vines, the postman trigger disappears. What we didn't know, however, is that the same trigger shows up here. Chris found that by jumping into this trigger, we would respawn and the postman trigger would be disabled. I don't know why that trigger is there, but thanks, Nintendo. Finally, we could do the map glitch jump and get to Lanayru Twilight, combining the 2 wolf sections into one. Well, there is one caveat. When we enter Lanayru Twilight, there's a cutscene. This cutscene shows us as a human, then transforms us into a wolf. Because of the definition of transform used for this category, this doesn't count against us because Link is a wolf before and after the cutscene, but it's worth mentioning. Low transforms was long and difficult before. It's now even longer and even more difficult. Before saving Talo, the run gets the Iron Boots, the Boomerang, the Claw Shot, the Master Sword, and Uku, finally saving Talo around 9 hours into the run, while the any % run saves Talo around 4 minutes in. The run still has to do the difficulty Ponesteam Clip and Frame Perfect Gorge Void, but adds the most difficult version of Pillar Clip to get into Lakebed. We don't have Midna at this point in the run, so we can't call her to stop Link's upward momentum. It still has to do Stallard Skip and Midna Fog Delays, but it adds the most difficult version of Death Sword Skip. It still has to do Uku Dive and beats King Bulblin 6 times, but adds a semi-precise jump into Lanayru Twilight. This run is barely possible, and it's incredible that it's possible at all, but could it possibly get down to 2 transforms? The short answer is no. As I said before, we need to be a wolf to kill the bugs in the Twilights. We need to clear Eldon Twilight to get bombs, we need bombs to beat Lakebed, we need to be a human to beat Lakebed, and then we need to beat Lakebed to get to Midna's Desperate Hour, and we need to be a wolf to beat Midna's Desperate Hour. I do not think that the existing wolf sections could be combined. So if it were possible to save 2 more transforms, it would require a massive discovery. However, even if we found a way to get into Hyrule Castle before Midna's Desperate Hour, we would need 5 hidden skills to beat Beast Ganon without transforming, and getting those 5 hidden skills requires at least 2 transforms. There is one discovery though that might have potential. A credits warp. If there were a way to warp to the credits, and we were able to access it before Midna's Desperate Hour, then maybe we would be able to beat the game in only 2 transforms. But how likely is a credits warp? In 2019, Dragonbane showed that if we could load the room outside of Goron Mines and Back in Time, it would allow for a credits warp. We don't have a way to load other areas in Back in Time, but there is a theoretical way to warp to the credits. I don't expect such a discovery, at least not anytime soon. Low Transforms was first routed 5 years ago, and since then it has gone from 16 transforms to only 4. It's a story of big discoveries, setbacks, and then more discoveries to get past the setbacks. Though Low Transforms has only been run a couple of times, several runners in the TP community have contributed to get the run to this point. The biggest puzzle in Twilight Princess speedrunning has finally been solved. I'm Anorakis. Thank you for watching.